Please, Mel Brooks has never made a bad movie. I think. Hey everyone, welcome to the ranking, and here's my ranking of Mel Brooks' movies. Yes, the king of comedy-ish. There's a lot of king of comedies out there, but I love Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks is one of my favorite comedic directors out there. He is so funny. He's made some of the funniest movies of all time. And I'm here to celebrate Mel Brooks' movies by ranking all of his films from my least favorite to my favorite. I'm only counting the movies he's directed. None of his TV movies or movies he wrote or produced or starred in or something. No, just the movies he's directed. Straight films, no TV movies, just movies he's directed. Alright, let's get to it. Here's my ranking of Mel Brooks' movies from my least favorite to my favorite. Alright, coming in at number 11 is Dracula, Dead and Loving It. Dracula, Dead or Loving It is a god-awful piece of crap. This movie is so dumb and so weird and so unique, too, because you're like, wait, Mel Brooks directed this movie? Are you sure? Was it Dennis Dugan? I'm sure it's Dennis Dugan. Like, this seems more like a Dennis Dugan movie, or a fucking Keenan Ivory Wayans movie, or something. Nope, this movie is directed by Mel Brooks. This movie is ungodly unfunny. Leslie Nielsen, this is when Leslie Nielsen just started not being funny. Like, Leslie Nielsen, like, come on, this is the guy who did, like, The Naked Gun and Airplane. This guy was hilarious. Then he just started doing these terrible spoof movies, and then he just got wildly unfunny, and this is a spoof movie of Dracula, and it's not funny. And Mel Brooks knows how to do satire beautifully, as you see in my other movies in these lower rankings. He can do satire just amazingly. He can follow the tone of the original film, but make it funny and satirize and make fun of it. And it's just done so beautifully. This one is so half-assed with cheap jokes and these annoying, obnoxious characters, and I hated every second of this movie. It's hands down the worst thing I've ever seen Mel Brooks do. It's awful. Coming number 10 is Life Stinks. Yeah, life certainly does stink when you're watching this movie. I have no idea why Mel Brooks made this movie. He started it himself, and it's like this comedic romance drama-ish movie. This movie actually would be the worst if Dracula didn't come out, but Dracula is wildly worse, but this movie is a piece of crap. The writing is so maddeningly unfunny. Like, nothing about this movie is funny. This is Mel Brooks. This guy has the direct line to my funny bone, quoting Zombieland right there, but this guy is so funny and so clever with his comedy and his satire and his characters. It's mind-blowing when he makes a movie that is so terrible, so stupid, so immature, so poorly written. It just makes you sad, and this movie is exactly that. None of the comedy or even the serious scenes work. Mel Brooks gives a god-awful performance. The entire supporting cast is completely wasted. The direction is just off. This movie's just awful. Life Stinks certainly does stink. Coming number 9 is A History of the World Part 1. You know, when I first saw this movie when I was younger, I was like, where's Part 2? How silly of me. This movie is fine. I actually don't hate this movie. This movie actually is decently critically acclaimed-ish. This movie is basically a satire of a history of the world, the cavemen, the Roman history, and all that stuff, and some jokes really work. Some do not, though. Like, some are very immature, some are pandering, some are just out there, some just make no sense. The movie is fine, but you can't really get connected to all these characters because there's different stories and stuff. And he tries to do, like, the Monty Python route, but he's not Monty Python. He's not Terry Jones or Terry Gilliam. So I think if this was in the hands of a Terry Jones or a Terry Gilliam, the movie would have worked better. But Mel Brooks tried, and it was fine for what it was. Coming number 8 is High Anxiety. High Anxiety is one of his early satire movies. He satirizes a lot of Hitchcock movies, old school horror movies and stuff, and it's fine. Like, I love how he satirizes The Birds and Vertigo. How he satirizes some of the Hitchcock movies in this movie is done very well, especially Vertigo. But, again, not all the jokes work in this movie. When Mel Brooks hits, he really hits. But when he doesn't, it falls real flat. This movie can be funny. Mel Brooks is in the movie himself, and he is very enjoyable, very charming, and very funny at times. But The movie goes on for too long. Maybe if this was like a short skit, it would have been much funnier, but the movie drags on too much, and then it goes to a next satire, a next spoof, and another spoof, and then eventually it just gets old and tired very fast. There is some very clever jokes in the movie, but it kind of gets old pretty quick, and it just turns out to be a very okay kind of movie. Coming number 7 is Spaceballs. Spaceballs is a very beloved movie. I totally get it. I am not a huge Spaceballs fan, and I know I'm a Star Wars fan, and no, it's not because it's making fun of Star Wars. Like, a lot of movies make fun of Star Wars. Some of the comedy just doesn't hit with me in this movie. I do appreciate that it goes full on, like, straight up goofy, and it really follows the tone of Star Wars, but in a very wacky, comedic way. And the characters are very iconic now, because, you know, Lone Star, Dark Helmet, Yogurt, use the Schwartz. There is some very funny jokes. John Candy is really funny. Rick Moranis, Mel Brooks, they're very funny in this movie. And Bill Pullman's fine too, but the movie can be very dated. The comedy is a little dated at times. The movie tries to be very Looney Tunes-esque at times, and at times it works. But another movie did that better. A movie called What's Up, Doc? With Ryan O'Neal and Barbra Streisand. That movie was like a Looney Tunes comedy movie, and it worked. Same with The Great Race with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. This movie is like a Star Wars satire, but also like a Looney Tunes cartoon. And the funniest thing is, Pinky and the Brain and the Animaniacs, they already did a satire of Star Wars, and they did much better than Spaceballs did. Spaceballs does have some funny lines. I do love every scene with Rick Moranis and Mel Brooks, but the movie again goes on for too long, and sometimes the satire just doesn't work, and the movie is very dated to me. The movie I know a lot of people love. I don't love it, but I do appreciate it for what it is. It's funny, but it's not hilarious. It's not laugh out loud funny to me. Coming number 6 is Robin Hood Men in Tights. Yes, we're done. Women in tights. Tights. I think this movie, I have more of a connection to this movie than I do with Spaceballs. How it goes into details of satirizing Robin Hood is so funny. I think Carrie Ellis, I love Carrie. Everyone knows I love Carrie Ellis because I love him in Dracula. I love him in Princess Bride and stuff, but I love him in this movie. He is so funny in this movie. So is Dave Chappelle as Achoo, bless you. And this movie is so funny. It's so ridiculous. The slapstick is hilarious. Some of the best slapstick in any Mel Brooks movie. It is so funny. I just love the attention to detail of the satire of Robin Hood was just more clever in this movie than it was with Spaceballs. Personal opinion. Like, I know some people laugh way more in Spaceballs, but for me, just personally, I laughed more in Robin Hood Men in Tights. It's still silly at times, there's still scenes that don't work, but I just find it funnier. Coming number 5 is The 12 Chairs. The 12 Chairs is one of the first Mel Brooks movies, and this movie is done so well. The shots, the comedy, the slapstick all just work perfectly. The performances are really good, and the comedy is really spot on. I don't want to go into too much details because I love to spoil the whole movie, but just check it out. If you love classic comedy and classic Mel Brooks, then you'll have a blast with this movie. It's just so fun. Coming number 4 is The Producers. The Producers is amazing. This is one of the first few movies with Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks collaboration. Anytime Gene Wilder is with Mel Brooks, it's just comedic gold. I love this movie about these producers of Broadway. Basically, they make all these hits, and basically, to be like the best producers and to make more money, they need to make a bunch of hits, but then they need to make one flop and cash in and make all this money and stuff. So basically, they make this Broadway play about Nazis, about springtime for Hitler and stuff. And basically, they know people will hate the play and it'll be a flop. But it kind of backfires on them because people think it's a comedy. Yes, springtime for Hitler and Germany. I must render you unconscious. This movie is offensive, dark, weird, and very crude at times, and it works. Gene Wilder, and I forget the other actor, I'll put his name up there, he is so funny. This movie is hilarious. I love the comedy, I love the slapstick, I love the story. It's just a freaking blast of a Mel Brooks movie, and it's my 4th favorite. Coming number 3 is Silent Movie. Silent Movie is a great movie. It's satirizing silent movies. This kind of did it before the artist did it, but the artist is just a better made movie. But this movie is a very funny movie. This is a silent movie making fun of silent movies. It's about these filmmakers who want to make a silent movie, but no one wants to do silent movies anymore. And it itself is a silent movie. Mel Brooks is in this movie. A lot of the Mel Brooks cast is in it. You got like Burt Reynolds in the movie. Madeline Kahn's in this movie. Everyone is so good. This is just so funny, and how they satirize silent film with also being a silent film, it's just clever. And I love this movie. Coming number 2 is Young Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein. Yes, Peter Boyle, Gene Wilder, Madeline Kahn, everyone is so brilliant in this movie. This basically is satirizing the story of Frankenstein. You know, what if Frankenstein's monster existed, but he was a little stupid in times? What if Dr. Frankenstein wasn't Dr. Frankenstein, but was Frankenstein? And yeah, this movie is just more comedic. It takes the tone and atmosphere, and even the colors and the shots of Frankenstein, but they make it funny. They make it, ridiculous at times. They put like a little musical number. You're feeling blue, put it on the Ritz. Like, it's so friggin' funny. It's enjoyable too. And I love Peter Boyle as the creature. He's so funny. When he meets the blind man, he's like dumping the candle on his hand. It's so funny. And yeah, I love it. I love the jokes in this movie. I love the slapstick. I love how it's made too. It's such a well crafted and directed film, and it's amazing. It's one of the best Mel Brooks movies. It's so good. And my number 1 favorite Mel Brooks movie is Blazing Saddles. He rode a blazing saddle. I will admit, Young Frankenstein is probably a better Mel Brooks movie. It's a better made movie. It's got better acting. Blazing Saddles is just a personal favorite. It is so freaking funny and so entertaining. It's probably got one of the best pie fights ever in a movie. Yes, pie fights, and they literally break the fourth wall in the third act of the movie. And I love Cleveland Little in this movie. Is so funny. Excuse me before I whip this out. It's so funny. And I love Gene Wilder in the movie as the Mako Kid. Yes, see my hand? Steady as a rock. Yes, but I shoot with this hand. Little bastard shot me in the ass. Even Mel Brooks in the movie, he's really funny, and the comedy is very offensive. Like, during this time in the 70s, a comedy movie coming out like this was so unheard of, but it was written by Richard Pryor and Mel Brooks and stuff, and the movie goes way out there, and it's so funny. Someone get a shitload of dimes. Like, it's so funny. It's crude, it's a bit offensive at times, but it works. It's so funny. The performances, the comedy. It's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. It's the funniest Western movie. There's a lot of funny Westerns, like Maverick and Shanghai Noon, but this is the funniest Western I've ever seen. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time, and it's my favorite Mel Brooks movie. So yeah, that was my ranking of all of Mel Brooks movies from my least favorite to my favorite. So in the comment section below, please tell me, what is your ranking of all of Mel Brooks movies from your least favorite to your favorite? Comment below, let me know. And as always for this video, please like, subscribe to this channel, and join the dark side.